Hey guys, welcome to the Omniverse of Nick's next Dragon Ball story turned analysis. What if Bardock was the first Super Saiyan? Before we get started, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and check out the About tab and homepage so you don't miss anything the Omniverse has to offer. With all that said, let's begin. So this is the next Dragon Ball story turned an analysis. What if Bardock was the first Super Saiyan and turned Super Saiyan against Frieza? So, in canon, Bardock was the father of Kakarot and Raditz and staged a final assault against Frieza to try to save planet Vegeta after seeing it through a vision from the Kanassans. But it was all in vain, for Bardock was incinerated by a supernova along with the rest of planet Vegeta. But what if he turned Super Saiyan? This is one of the most talked about things in the entire history of the Dragon Ball franchise and fan base. For in an episode of Bardock, which you can see online or in Dragon Ball Connect, we got to see it for the very first time. Super Saiyan Bardock was sent back in time and turned Super Saiyan against a great ancestor of the Cold family, Chilled. So ever since, we have seen Salad Saiyan do it, Karthu Dojo, and many, many others, Masako X. This, like I said, is one of the most talked about things in the entire Dragon Ball fan base and franchise. And so many people have done it. And I was gonna do this as a story 3 years ago before Lightning McQueen never went to Radiator Springs, but it's turn analysis for reasons that I'm going to get into just shortly. But this is going to be my interpretation of what would happen if Bardock was the first Super Saiyan and not his son Kakarot and turned Super Saiyan against Frieza. But this is not going to be a story. This is going to be an analysis because, like I said, not only is the most talked about thing I feel in the entire Dragon Ball franchise and fan base, but on my channel so far, 4 years of these what ifs, this is the first time that I've encountered a scenario that I can't do as a story compared to how other people do it. Other people have done analysis and stories, but since there's been so freaking many, I have to do an analysis for the first time as a Dragon Ball what if. Because, like I said, this is one of the most talked about things I've ever seen in my life. So much so that even games of Dragon Ball have touched upon this idea. Xenoverse, Fighters, Kakarot. This idea of Bardock going Super Saiyan, not only against Frieza, but just in general, it is very much so widely talking about. So, just because this isn't a story does not mean it's going to be boring. We're going to be touching upon 4 scenarios in which this could happen. So let's dive in. Number 1, Bardock turns Super Saiyan ferociously and combats the supernova coming towards him with a super Riot Javelin, and it actually pushes the supernova back with his super Riot Javelin, and before Frieza can even process Bardock going Super Saiyan or anything, he's instantly incinerated, along with his entire ship and everything. Bardock now has to accept the fact he has become the legendary Super Saiyan, and he not only successfully gets an army this time, but gets all of his family together. That means getting Kakarot back from Earth, Raditz from in space, and Dodoria and Zarbon are killed, and King Cold rallies the Ginyu Force and his legions to combat Bardock the Super Saiyan and the army of planet Vegeta. King Cold and Bardock fight, but King Cold is stronger than Bardock by a great margin, even in Super Saiyan. So let's say that Bardock is able to get some kind of head on King Cold. Ginyu is still a factor, and there's no Saiyan at this moment besides Bardock that can take on Captain Ginyu, let alone half the members of the Ginyu Force, bar maybe Vegeta and Nappa and Raditz. So, yeah, Bardock gets his body swapped by Ginyu, and with the best warrior taken over his body, no other Saiyan is a match for King Cold, the Ginyu Force, and the legions of the Cold Army. So Planet Vegeta and all the Saiyans are killed. As for every planet that's not under King Cold's rule, King Cold now knows that it was a mistake retiring and lending the army over to Frieza, because look what happened. He was killed by a Super Saiyan that was easily taken over. So now the Cold Army is reinstated, and Earth and every planet that's not under Cold's rule, Cold would correct that 1,000-fold. But then you have to think about Bobbity, Deborah, and all the Majins trying to resurrect Boo. Red Ribbon Army don't stand no chance in this story, but that all changes when Bobbity, the Majins, and Deborah come into factor. King Cold is turned into a Majin, just like he was in Dragon Ball Multiverse. Then we see Paragus and Broly become a factor, but Paragus is either turned into a Majin or killed, and Broly transforms into a Super Saiyan. And Bobbity tries to use his magic, but just because this is years and years and years before Super doesn't mean anything. Broly breaks his father's will and his electric collar, just like Z Broly and just like Super Cannon Broly, and powers ferociously past Super Saiyan. Deborah, Cold, the Ginyu Force, Bobbity, and the legions of Majin soldiers and Cold soldiers are no match and are instantly incinerated by Broly. Because just because this is years before Super, this is freaking Broly we are talking about. So, yeah. Boo is still resurrected, but like I said, with this being Super Saiyan Broly canon, and it being Broly entirely, this means that Broly is still way stronger and getting stronger than Boo. And Boo doesn't even have a chance to process his resurrection before Broly, with his barrages, his attacks, his ferocity, his ki blasts, and everything, his aura even alone, incinerates Boo. So no Super and no Kid Boo. He's toast. Soon enough, Beerus awakens. But besides, if you really want to include manga people and then the Galactic Patrol, Broly is the only one left in Universe 7. But he does appease Beerus enough to unlock Super Saiyan God through Whis' training. And he is trained by Beerus solely, as Universe 6 versus 7 still happens, but Broly is the only competitor. And Beerus knows that with God training and how ferocious Broly is, they don't need any other contestants, although it's disappointing because there's still the possibility that they'll lose. But Broly lasts till Hit. And then Hit uses his time skip, and just because Broly's learning, he is no match for Hit's time skip. But then he powers up further, and Hit powers his time skip further. Then Broly goes God, and this is way too much for Hit, and he is knocked out. Broly wins the tournament. But with no one in Universe 7 besides manga people and the Galactic Patrol, there's no time travel and no Zamasu. Zeno erases all of reality because he is that bored. No future counterpart, no Goku, no one almost in Universe 7 besides that one guy. What is the point? So Zeno erases all of reality. So this is a bad ending. Scenario 1. Scenario 2. Bardock and Frieza fight to an absolute standstill, and Frieza kills Bardock in his first form, because Bardock's Super Saiyan would elevate him from his base power of 10,000 to 500,000. So the first scenario is him getting lucky to incinerate Frieza on contact, and that still ends with a bad ending. So This is Frieza actually fighting Bardock in Super Saiyan and managing through a very hard fight to kill him in his first form, which is kind of an unlikely scenario, but still logical, especially since the fight would be so even that Frieza would still be able to win, especially if Bardock's injured, which would lower his power to like in the 400,000 territory, maybe even 300,000. So the first scenario is him getting lucky. The second scenario is like an eh. Third scenario, Frieza is forced into his second form, and with a death storm or an impalement, he absolutely destroys Super Saiyan Bardock. Now, scenario number 4. Bardock knows that even if Frieza transformed into his second form, Bardock is reverted back to base and knows that even though he's the legendary Super Saiyan, he can't beat Frieza. So he manages to distract Frieza and he gets away. Little does he know, Frieza destroys Planet Vegeta and Guinea and everybody. But he does reunite with his sons, Kakarot and Raditz. And though they're children, Bardock knows to combat Frieza, him alone as a Super Saiyan isn't enough. So he teaches his sons on planet Earth Super Saiyan. And Bardock leading the helm, no Red Ribbon Army, no Pilaf, no King Piccolo is any kind of match for Bardock and his family. Minus Guinea, if she was not resurrected with the Dragon Balls. Vegeta and Nappa become a part in this team too. And they know that even though Vegeta would like to lead the helm as the prince, Bardock became the Super Saiyan first. So, even though they're not the lead helms of this could still get them to kill Frieza and take control once and for all. And Nappa and Vegeta are definitely up for that. Nappa and Vegeta both unlock Super Saiyan. And with a Super Saiyan army, Frieza, King Cold, and all the legions of forces, they stand absolutely no freaking chance. Especially if Bardock teaches Raditz and Goku Super Saiyan from the start as children. That means that Bardock as a Super Saiyan would elevate past 2, even 3, by the time that we would even get involved to the Frieza saga once Z actually happens, if it wouldn't happen sooner. So I don't even need to tell you that even if you threw Cooler in the mix, Frieza 100%, King Cold 5th form, it doesn't matter. You have a Super Saiyan army. They're no match. The androids would not be a factor, if at all, so we don't even have to worry about them. And even if Bobbity and the Majins become a factor, Broly made Boo resurrect because his damage boosts to entire fleets and legions of armies, that's what resurrected Boo. And he would most likely get damaged even in Super Saiyan or in his Wrath state. So, with a Super Saiyan army, no androids, and way less energy, Super Saiyan Bardock, possibly even 4 at this point, whether there's a Demon Realm, Goma, or Majins or not, even if Boo gets resurrected, Bardock and his Super Saiyan family and army, do I even need to tell you that it's no contest? Then Beerus awakens, Broly and Paragus become a factor, Tarbell becomes a factor, and I feel Bardock or Goku would become the Super Saiyan God. Vegeta, if you're lucky to get him as the Super Saiyan God, because I already gave Broly it in the first scenario, so I'm not going to double tap on that. And for the first time in my stories, besides this being a first time analysis, I'm going to include Turles in this. Because even if he is proven as a bad guy to bring him in the story, he's a low class. This story is about low class Bardock and Goku. And Turles is a low class that looks like Bardock and Goku. So this would be the very first time since I've been giving Broly and Tarbell so much love that I'm actually including Turles in a story for the first time. So don't you worry. As we get into more stories here, Turles is going to be getting a lot more love, just like Broly and Tarbell. Because if there's anything that the Omniverse #NextTopics has taught you guys, is that when I introduce a character into the story that I haven't yet, I give them a lot of love going forward. If we did get Zamasu or time travel or anything, and that's lucky if you get that at all in any of these scenarios, we would get a Bardock Black, and that would also affect the fused Zamasu. But I really don't see that happening in any of the scenarios whatsoever. Super Saiyan 4, whether it be Artificial Moon or Daima, would also be a heavy transformation here because of Bardock and all the Saiyans. Like, come on. And Bardock and Goku would lead the charge, father and son, even Raditz, with this form. Like I said, whether it be Artificial Moon or Daima version, it would happen. Zeno wouldn't have a future counterpart, but this scenario actually puts the Tournament of Power into place. So, Jiren, Toph, and Dispo would be the only main threats, and that's if they would even be threats at all. Frieza would be resurrected in Golden, and who knows, we would even probably get Manga Black form, and Bardock would be the main one to fight him, showing that their rivalry and their fight would not end, as Bardock as Super Saiyan against Frieza would prove in all these scenarios that even if the Omniverse's adaptation isn't a story, this forever will be one of the most talked about, covered, liked, and hated, and just overall best what if discussions of the entire Dragon Ball franchise and fan base in its entirety. So, we end this analysis video of Super Saiyan Bardock against Frieza. Now, as I said, I originally wanted to do this as a story, but there's really no way to do it, because whatever thought process of making this a story actually was plausible ended 3 years ago when I made What If Lightning McQueen Never Went to Radiator Springs. This was the idea that was supposed to come before that. Number one, it was at the start of my channel. I had already done the idea on a past channel, and it was way, way different, very run down, very out of context, very out of plot reason ideas, and just sucked. And honestly, there is just no way that I can make this a story. Unlike others that have done this idea and I've been able to make it differently, this one I absolutely freaking cannot. Because this idea has been one of the most talked about, done, and just over-populated ideas in the entirety of the Dragon Ball fandom. You have seen people like Masago X, Salad Saiyan, Carthu Dojo, Vegito 1089, and so many others. Zenki Gaming, and what ifs in the games themselves across all of them. Xenoverse, Fighters, Kakarot, the list goes on and on. Dokkan Battle. This idea has been so much done across the entirety of every single platform. Whether you look at YouTube, DeviantArt, Pinterest, everywhere. In games, this idea is one of the most done ideas in the entirety of the Dragon Ball fandom. Now that is arguable to the Frieza turn good, Vegeta become immortal, Vegeta becomes Super Saiyan, and some of the ideas I've done, because the vast majority is me uniquely. But this one, more than every single Dragon Ball idea, this is why this is the first Dragon Ball thing that I cannot make a story, because this is literally the first time that I have encountered a scenario that is one of the most done on all of YouTube and the Dragon Ball fanbase combined. So, yeah, it was just very tough to think of an idea that could actually pose as a story. That's why it was multiple scenarios. And I did go a little bit in depth with some of the scenarios, but there was no way that I could make it a plausible story. I just wanted it to get out of the way. That doesn't mean that I was trying to rush this, even if it was just an analysis. But there's just no possible way that I can make this a story that's different from anything else. Because unlike others that people have done that are not just unique to me, I can do that. And I have made so many ideas unique to myself, but unlike others who have done similar ideas and I've been able to work with a different prospect, like not even that many people have done a certain idea that I've done, this one has just been so much freaking done that I can't. This is the first story that I literally cannot make a story. So I hope that even though this was a long time coming, 3 years, that you guys liked this for what it was, cool pictures and story analysis aside, and thought that this is a good way to represent Super Saiyan Bardock against Frieza, and how I've teased many of other things coming to pass for future tales ahead, like hyping up Broly more, and just so much planned for the Omniverse, especially this year. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this analysis for what it was, with Bardock becoming the first Super Saiyan against Frieza, and I will see you guys in the next What If Roman Bridger was actually, he survived. And with all that said, hope you guys like Super Saiyan Bardock against Frieza and this analysis video, and I will see you guys for Roman Bridger.